Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater, and this is another episode of MUT Tips. Let's jump into our topic for this week, being a better improviser on and off stage. So being a better improviser, there's a lot of things that go into that, right? Saying yes and, listening, being in the moment, object work, lots of stuff. But I'm more so gonna be focusing on being a better improviser as a student of improv, because as improvisers, we're always learning the art of improvisation. Every week we learn something new, hopefully. So I'm gonna give you a few tips about just being a more invested individual when you are in the art of improvisation. So the first thing I want to talk about is punctuality. So arriving to class on time. I always recommend arriving to class, about 15 minutes before the start time. That way you can use the restroom, grab a snack, do some stretches, and be ready to go. Group directors and instructors really appreciate it when their students are punctual and on time, because then we can get started. It kind of sucks when we're starting class with maybe a new warm-up game or an exercise. We've explained all the rules, and then suddenly, a student comes in late and we have to kind of re-explain everything all over again. And it kind of eats up more time that we're trying to dedicate to, the curriculum. And that could be avoided a little bit if people just structure their time a little bit effectively. I know I can empathize a little bit because obviously Made Up Theater's in the Bay Area where there's a lot of traffic, commute can suck. So if before joining an improv class, maybe try the commute out and see if you can structure your time and get there in an appropriate manner. Because again, we want to try to avoid being late to class, because if you're late, then you miss out on stuff. And we want to avoid missing out on all the information as a student of improvisation. So to coincide with punctuality is just attend the classes. Attend all of the classes if you can. Obviously, if you're sick or have a family emergency, sure, miss those classes, but don't just miss class because you're like, I had a rough day at work, I don't really feel like going to improv. Because improv is like a way to truly have release during the week. I tell my students it's the best part of your week, because you get to come here and all that stress that's bottled up in your head, you get to just throw it at the door, leave it at the door and come in and just have fun. Have fun without the stress of reality. And if we miss that, then we don't get to actually experience the entire curriculum, the entire experience of an improv class. If you miss a class, you miss out on information that was covered in the previous class, exercises that can really help push you to the next level, and we want to try to avoid that. So really try to commit yourself and be dedicated to an improv class, and try your best to attend every single class if you can. So the next thing relates to kind of group mind and collaboration. That's to actually hang out with your fellow students or fellow improvisers outside of class. So maybe at the end of a show or at the end of the class, maybe a gang of them are trying to go to Applebee's and grab a drink or grab an appetizer, and they invite you to go. If you can, go with them. Go experience them outside of class. Have discussions outside of improv to better understand who they are as individuals. And obviously we all have busy schedules, so maybe you have to get to work at 5 a.m. and that's cool. You don't have to go every time, but see if you can try to go a few times, or maybe organize a meetup on a weekend when everybody can attend. Go bowling maybe on a Sunday afternoon. And as other people, if maybe you're somebody who really loves to go on meetups with fellow improvisers, don't be offended if a certain person doesn't want to attend. They might have a conflicting schedule. Again, they might have to wake up at even 3 a.m. Who knows? So don't take it personally. Sometimes they just have other obligations that might prevent them from hanging out at a late time. So, but other than that, try to see if you can go out and hang out with your fellow classmates. It's really gonna help establish a group mind with them. So the next few things relate to being a student of improv in a classroom or rehearsal setting. And the first thing to discuss is technology. We all use it, right? We all have a smartphone device, and we're all constantly checking text messages, checking emails, checking apps. But when we're in an improv classroom or a rehearsal setting, we need to leave that at the door. My recommendation is just turning off your cell phone, putting it in a bag or putting it on a counter somewhere where you can't reach it, and just focus on the now. Focus on the setting of what you are learning in class. Because it's a little bit off-putting when an instructor looks at their students who are watching maybe an exercise that's on stage, and half of them are on their cell phone devices. And it's a little bit like, why are you paying for this class if you don't want to learn the information? So if you obviously are taking notes on your phone, that's okay. Tell your instructor that way they know. But leave it at the door, because you're paying for this information, so you gotta learn it all. When you're off stage watching maybe an exercise by other improvisers who are on stage, it's respectful to watch them and you get to learn from them. You get to learn as an audience member about the successes and failures of improv. That is the whole process, is being on stage and being off stage as a viewer. So this next one is super duper important because it relates to the authority of the group director or instructor, and that's TTN. It's an acronym and it means take the note. So when you're in a class, the instructor or group director is obviously going to give criticism in the form of individual or group notes. And we as students of improv, it's our responsibility to heed the advice that they give and try it out. Try it out as a way to get us outside of our comfort zone and become better improvisers. But of course, we're people, we have pride, we have ego. That's something that we can't really avoid. So there might be a time when like, hey, you're on stage having a good time, having fun, and then after the scene, the director gives you some criticism, some feedback about what they just saw and ways to possibly improve it. And you know, some people might take offense to that because like, I was just having a good time on stage. But again, having fun is great, but we want to polish it so it's not just fun that you're having, it's actually a successful scene, a successful polished scene that, you know, really encapsulates what improv is all about. But if we're like, I don't really like that note, and we even kind of challenge it in class, and it takes the authority away from the teacher. Because again, you know, you're probably paying for this class, so you want their feedback, you want their knowledge, and you want their criticism as a way to kind of become a better improviser. So again, don't challenge notes in class. If you have a question and you want clarification, that's totally fine. Just try not to be defensive about it, because we as, you know, instructors, we want to help you get better. That is our job. So if improvisers, you know, don't listen to notes or don't take notes, and we don't see them trying out the stuff that we are kind of, you know, encouraging them to try out, it could be a little discouraging. And again, it's a way for you to kind of avoid like truly unlocking your potential. So heed notes, don't challenge them. So to piggyback off taking the notes, a thing that we want to avoid as students of improv is giving each other notes. So it's really important to have that authority figure, that instructor or group director in class. That person is responsible for giving feedback, and it's your job as a student to listen and, you know, try it out to become a better improviser. But as students, we don't want to take that authority away from the group director and give notes to other students, both in class and outside of class. So you don't want to like try to zero in on specific people and say, well, I was doing this scene, but then, you know, Joe did this and it kind of made it difficult. Because at that point, you're creating a little bit of a hostile environment and Joe feels kind of bad. And we don't want to have that vibe in class. We want the authority to be strictly on the group director, and everybody else has equal status in class. So if you do have questions in class, that's totally cool, ask away, but make sure it's not a passive-aggressive way to give notes or feedback to somebody else, because it's very easy to detect that, and it again can create a little bit of a weird vibe in class. So just refrain from giving notes to each other. It's really important because it's ultimately going to create a more friendly environment and a more united group. And my last tip is probably the most important tip of all. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of MUT Tips. Thank you so much for watching. Again, this is a weekly segment. We release them every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Facebook. Also, if you have, you know, a concept that you would like discussed in a future video, feel free to hit that comment button and, you know, ask away. I'd love to address it in a future video. But other than that, everybody, I will see you next week for another episode of MUT Tips. Bye.